Okay, so let's have a look at this generic class question. The question says the tour class or the TourTest class mentioned below produces the following output. So name Sydney, price equals 250, name equals national parks, price equals 125. Okay, and then there's a public class tour, so there's a tour class. There's two data items in the class or fields, a string which is a name and an integer price. So just two data items. There's a parameterized constructor which takes a name and a price and sets the class data equal to the values passed in. So this.name equals name, this.price equals price. There's a getName method that returns the name. There's a setName method that sets the name to a new value, whatever is passed in. This.name equals name. There's a getPrice method which returns the price, and a setPrice method which sets the price to a new price that's passed in. And the final method is a toString method. So name equals name and price equals $price. Okay, and a new line on the end. Okay, so that's very standard stuff. By this stage of the game, you should have developed many classes just like this with one or more constructors, accessor methods, and mutator methods, methods that change class data. So this should be nothing surprising for you at this stage. We've got a little test class down here, which creates two objects of our tour class and does a print line on them. And of course, each one of those calls the toString method automatically. Okay, so pretty standard stuff. You should have seen this sort of thing many times already. Now what we need to do is we need to rewrite the above tour class as a generic class so that the following TourTest class can produce the output mentioned below. Okay, so we're going to rewrite just a tour class so that this TourTest class, this new TourTest class, can produce that output up here. So in the first one, we're declaring the tour data to be of type integer. So it's still string, but the second bit of data going into the constructor is an integer. And in the second object down here, it's double. So tour double, tour 2 equals new tour double, national parks, and then a double value. So it's string and double or string and integer. Okay, so we really only need to worry about the second parameter that's going in there. It's either got to be of type integer or double, depending on the type of data passed to the constructor. Okay, so we don't need to worry about making the string parameter generic. It's just making that second parameter there generic so that we can pass in integers or doubles or whatever we like, any of those sort of values. So here's our tour class in TextPad. This is our original tour class, unmodified. The only thing I've done is a little bit of reformatting. I've put the opening curly brace there so that lines up with the closing. I can't help myself. I've just got to do that when I get some code that I need to format. Everything else is the same. So it's just our standard tour class. Control 1, that's all fine. Here's our old tour class. Okay, so we can make sure that works. And the output produced is just what the question says, so that's all correct. So here's our new TourTest class, and this is one we need to adapt our TourTest class to. Okay, so this is one that's got the type of data being stored as the second parameter to the constructor. Okay, now if we just try and compile our code as is without changing anything in the tour class, we're going to end up with errors. Okay, and Java's telling us tour type or tour class does not take parameters. Okay, so we're not allowed to do this sort of thing, integer and double and so on. Okay, so how do we make our class generic? Well, it's really quite easy. Okay, so we need to just change our data type to a generic type. So instead of integer, it's t. Okay, so t there in the instance data for the class. Our constructor now takes an object of type t, so tPrice. Our get method for getPrice now returns a value or an object of type t, so tGetPrice. And our setPrice method sends in an object of type t. Okay, and that's all we need to change. Well, there's one other thing we need to change. So there's 4 changes so far. The 5th change is we just need a signal to Java that we know what we're doing and we are creating a generic class. So we go less than t greater than thereafter public class tour. Okay, so there was the 5 changes we needed. That change there, tPrice, 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 and tGetPrice. Okay, so just those 5 changes. we can compile our code now and go back to this other class here and Control-2 to run, and you'll see our program's working correctly. We're getting a desired output, but there is one little flaw. Well, there's not it is a flaw or a danger, and we can improve it. Now in Java, we want to try and restrict things down so that people can't pass that second parameter through, for example, as a string, because we might be doing calculations on it later or whatever, if tests on it later. So we want to make sure we restrict it down. So Java lang integer, that's our integer class. That's a subset or a child class of number, the number class. And if we have a look at double, okay, it's also a child of the number class. So what we want to do is restrict it so that the type T, whatever the data is, must be a subset of number or below. Okay, so we're trying to restrict it down to what it can be. It can't be a date, it can't be a customer, it's got to be a number, which is an integer or a double, or any of the classes that are of number or below. Okay, and anyway, you can read about that in the Java docs, which are a great source of information. Okay, so the change for that is really quite simple. All we need to do is up here is go extends number, and that just restricts it down so that whatever object T is, it's got to be of type number or double or integer or one of those classes that are a child of number. Control-S, Control-1, everything's fine, Control-1, Control-2, and that's it, everything's working fine. So now if we try and make, for example, if we try and pass through a string, a string as our second parameter, and I try and compile that, we'll get some errors. Oh, first one is that we can't reuse the same object again. And basically Java's telling us that type argument string is not within the bounds of the type variable T. So T's got a list of or a range of types it can be, and string's not one of them. That's what Java is telling us there. Okay, so that won't work. So it's a good way of limiting things down so that there's a range to what type of data you can declare your tour class to be or contain. Okay, that's how you do it. Just put extends something in there and that restricts it down further. Okay, hope that was useful. Thanks for watching.